This is Alagammai Meyyappan from the White Swan Foundation for Mental Health. Today we have with us Dr. Preeti Jacob, Assistant Professor, Department of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, NIMHANS. And Dr. Preeti is here to talk to us today about child sexual abuse. Thank you so much, Dr. Preeti, for joining us. This is an age where both parents are working, and a question that parents often have in their mind is how do they protect their child, especially if the child is left in the care of other adults in the household?
There's no foolproof way that parents can protect their children, but they can take a lot of steps to prevent or minimize the risk of child sexual abuse. One way in which they can do that is by being actively involved in the child's life. So to know what the child is doing, where they are going to go, so to be actively involved in the child's life. The second thing is to know the people in the child's life, be it the teachers or the coaches or the nanny or whoever it is who is in the child's life and who are going to be interacting with the child. The parent must know them and must know them well. Thirdly, it's important for the parent to create spaces where they allow the child to talk to them about topics that are uncomfortable, that are even taboo, so that the child feels that their parent will be comfortable talking about anything that might be of concern or might be troubling them. For example, if the child wants to talk about their teacher and disagrees with the method in which the teacher handled a child in their class, some parents can be dismissive or can tell the child that you can never disagree with your teacher or something like that, and which means that the child understands that those are topics that the parent does not want to engage in or does not want to discuss. On the other hand, if the parent can listen to the child and make valid and wherever the child has made a valid point, acknowledge that the parent may still choose to disagree with the child, but can do it in a manner where they are not dismissive or where they are not outrightly disagreeing with the child. In doing so, the child feels that the parent is willing to lend their ear and is willing to be a part of a conversation that might not always be easy. It's also an important lesson to teach the child that adults are fallible too, and that adults can make mistakes too, and it's important in a way to question and to do it in a polite manner, but questioning should be something that we teach our children to do, not to blindly obey but to question. The last thing is, it's important for parents to teach their children boundaries, their own personal boundaries and boundaries that they need to maintain with others as well. So if somebody crosses that personal boundary or violates the child's personal boundary, it's important for us to take that into account and to be supportive of the child. For example, if the child does not want a particular family member to hug them or to pinch their cheeks, or it just makes them uncomfortable, it's important for the parent to acknowledge that and to understand why the child is saying something like that, and if the child truly feels uncomfortable, to say that it is all right if the child does not hug that adult or allow that adult to hug them. By not allowing that, the parent essentially says that they don't take the child's feelings into account, and the adult will have ultimate sway over what happens to the child, including what happens to the child's own body. So we need to teach children to trust their own feelings and to make sure that they understand that they are the ultimate authority over their body, and anybody who makes them uncomfortable, they need not allow that to happen. Apart from that, it's also important for the child to understand others' boundaries, so and that they don't violate another child's boundaries or another adult's boundaries. The best way to do this is to practice it at home and to teach it at home. So if the parent respects the child's boundaries and if the child respects the parent's boundaries because the parent is showing it via practice, I think that's the best way that this message sinks in. So some of these ways, some of these methods help the child to be in an environment where they can talk about something that is uncomfortable or that is troubling or concerning them.
So when we think of child sexual abuse, we often associate it with the physical symptoms that the child may have. But what are some of the immediate and long-term effects that abuse may have on the child's emotional well-being?
Child sexual abuse has a significant impact on the emotional well-being of the child. Children present with emotional symptoms children present with behavioral symptoms. So in the aftermath of the disclosure or the aftermath of the abuse, children present with a range of symptoms, and it's wide ranging. It's not limited to a particular set, but some of the common behavioral symptoms that children can have is self-injurious behavior or withdrawn behavior, lack of interest in activities, start using substances of abuse, sometimes even where they have a symptom suggestive of post-traumatic stress disorder, where they have hypervigilance, which is an easy tendency to be startled, intrusive memories which keep coming over and over again, nightmares, flashbacks. Some children even avoid spaces where which are reminders of the event. So these are some of the emotional and behavioral symptoms that children can have, children and adolescents can have. Not all children present with symptoms. A small percentage of children don't have symptoms and don't have significant psychological distress, and this may be because they have a good family support, high resilience, good peer relationships, and so they are able to come out of it without long-term and long-lasting problems. So it's important that in the aftermath of such a traumatic event that we build resilience, so that we protect the child against long-term problems that might occur due to child sexual abuse in childhood.
So as a parent or caregiver, how can you set aside your own feelings of shock when a child discloses abuse to you, and how do you create a safe space for the child to speak?
Yes, that's a difficult conversation to have. Parents are probably hurting for themselves and for the child, and especially when it is a trusted adult or a family member who is loved or is part of the family, it becomes even more devastating for the child and the parent. So it's not an easy conversation to have. But it's important that parents understand that it has taken a lot of courage on the part of the child to even disclose this information, that abuse has indeed occurred. And it's important that the parent tells the child that they are glad that they came to them and confided such a horrible event to them, and to be supportive of the child when they do disclose that event. It's not a good idea to tell the child why they haven't been told about this before, or to say that they don't quite believe that somebody would even do something like that. That would just add to the child's distress and would make the child understand that they probably didn't do the right thing by going to their parent because they don't believe them. So the most important thing that they can do is believe the child and not push for details, not ask about the entire event if the child is not ready to talk about it, to allow the child to set the pace of how they would like to go about disclosing something so painful, and to be there for the child and be supportive of the child. I think that's probably one of the only ways one can have a conversation like this.
In a school setting, doctor, how do you think teachers can be sensitive towards the child and help them cope in such a circumstance?
First and foremost, teachers need to be sensitive to behavioral changes in the child in their class. So it's important for them to know the child's behavior, understand that there has been a change in the recent past, and again, child sexual abuse is one of the possibilities for that behavioral change, and to be ever vigilant. So the important thing is to be sensitive to changes and to be vigilant that sexual abuse could be something that could have occurred. Creating a safe space for the child to talk about issues that might be troubling them at home or in school or in any other space is another thing that teachers can do. We have seen many children who would confide in the teacher about sexual abuse that they are undergoing or that they have undergone. So teachers, I think, have a big role to play in being available for the child and in being supportive figures for the child. Under the POCSO Act of 2012, there is mandatory reporting, which means that if teachers or if anybody for that matter gets to know about child sexual abuse, it's important that they report it. So that's another thing that schools and teachers must know with respect to child sexual abuse.